Joining me now, a man with 2 decades of experience leading senators to difficult agreements, Chairman of the Senate Budget Committee, Kent Conrad. Thanks for joining me tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Always good to be with you, Lawrence.
Senator, how did the Malia and Sasha comparison go over on Capitol Hill today, especially in the Senate?
It's always hard to know. You've made the point very well. Look, it is so much more difficult when you have 100 people to persuade the United States Senate, 435 in the House, and lots of differences of opinion. What is so clear is that this is something that must be done. These are commitments that we've already made. I think in the American public there's a misunderstanding about extending the debt limit. I think many people think this means we're going to be taking on more obligations. It's not that. It's the question of whether we keep the obligations we've already made. It's like you bought the car. The question is now whether you keep making the payments. And let me say one other thing, if I could, Lawrence. You know the situation very well. The revenue of the country as a share of our national income is the lowest it has been in 60 years. Spending as a share of national income is the highest it's been in 60 years. That's why we have record deficits. That's why it is so important that we come up with a comprehensive plan to deal with this debt and not kick this can down the road one more time.
Senator, there are breaking news reports late today that you have reached an agreement with the Democrats on your committee, on the Senate Budget Committee, on a budget plan that would reduce the deficit by the president's target numbers over the next 10 to 12 years. What can you tell us about that plan?
I will release that plan next week. Obviously, as you know, Lawrence, we got a lot of work to do to prepare it for release, but we achieved a breakthrough this afternoon, an agreement among all of the Senate Budget Committee Democrats to support the plan. It's a big plan, frankly has more savings than the Fiscal Commission did. So I think it is very significant, and I hope very much that it will help influence the debate and the discussion among the leadership.
So you have a plan that includes the full range of Democrats on your committee, which includes Bernie Sanders at one edge of the party and others to go forward. That would sound to me like a plan that would get over 50 votes in the Senate.
Yeah, I believe it would. The important thing here is that it is another plan that would really make a difference with respect to the debt. It would change the trajectory on our debt. In fact, it would have more debt reduction than the House Republican plan. It would have a lower deficit at the end of 10 years than the House Republican plan. So I think it's going very much in the right direction.
Senator, you, virtually alone among leaders in the Democratic side of the Senate, have been trying to work with Republicans this year in your famous Gang of Six. You are now moving into working exclusively with Democrats on your committee. How do you expect to get an agreement among Democrats on your committee that you can get across a 60-vote threshold on the Senate floor where you would require some Republican votes?
Well, remember, with a budget resolution, we'd only need 51 votes. Number two, I continue to work with the group of 6, so I've got at least 2 horses out on the track, maybe 3 if you count the commission that I participated in. And I think the more horses we got on the track, the better chance we have that one will finish the race. So I've got a responsibility to the Budget Committee, and we've been working for months to get a plan that everyone could agree on. I'm still working with the group of 6 and hope that they will soon announce a plan. They're very, very close there as well. And of course, the Fiscal Commission did produce a plan, $4 trillion of savings, comprehensive, everything on the table. Revenue, yes. Spending cuts, yes, in the trillions of dollars, and something that would get the country back on track.
Senator, to get the kind of plan you're talking about, it seems you would have to obviously have revenue raisers within there, which I would assume are in that territory that the president is talking about, where you're limiting certain deductions, certain loopholes, but also very, very significant spending cuts, which would have to come in the Medicare territory. Do you expect to find resistance among Democrats for any kind of changes in the cost structure of Medicare, given that they have the Republicans now in such a vulnerable political position on that with the Ryan plan?
You know, I don't expect a plan on the Democratic side is going to revisit the Medicare debate we just completed last year. As you know, there were very substantial savings in Medicare last year. So that's already in train. Obviously, many of those savings have yet to be implemented. So that's something that's still in the works in terms of legislation that's already been passed, but much of it not implemented until future years. The interesting thing is, without touching Social Security, without having any significant reductions in Medicare, you can still achieve these significant savings and get the debt under control. That's what's so encouraging.
Senator, my mind is racing here on how you could put together a package in that committee that could get Bernie Sanders support and the more moderate Democrats support on that same committee. I'm just going to stay up all night trying to figure out what's in that plan. Senator Kent Conrad, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Good to be with you, Lawrence.